This is a quickie guess the line segment coming off Rams Vikings. The good news, the Rams, an emotional win for Los Angeles. I guess you could feel it coming in the hour before the game with an emotional performance of the national anthem. The Rams played great. They played out of their minds, and yet I leave this game wondering what the hell happened to the Minnesota Vikings. Where we were 2 weeks ago versus where we are now, it's one of the most stunning 8-9 day collapses I can remember of a football team. These guys won me over. I really genuinely believed in them, and they fell apart.
The whole division won me over. The NFC North. I went into this. I'm like, I'm gonna key on this NFC North. The Packers are gonna be good. The Vikings are gonna go far or as far as they can before they run into another team. And now it's like they're looking like the SEC a little bit for you college fans out there. And yeah, I'm with you. The Rams came out fighting, proud of this team. They brought their A game. McVay had them together, right mindset, but moved them. Basically, it felt like the game was in Minneapolis. Like, they went to the sideline reporter and she's like, yeah, a lot of Vikings fans. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem fair, but they did a great job. But yeah, you're right. Like you and I were like, sign Sam Darnold easy 2 weeks ago, right? I feel bad flip-flopping so much, but Jesus, what the hell is going on in the last 10 days?
It's not a flip-flop. He had a whole body of evidence for the whole season where it looked like, for whatever reason, he was this year's late bloomer star QB. And he had just come off that huge win over the Packers when he has one of the best games of his career. They have the awesome NFL Films video in the locker room after, right? When they're all waiting, Darnold comes in and his teammates mob him. They pick him up. They show Kevin O'Connell, like almost like near tears watching it. Great speeches.
Wow, that seems like it was now that you brought that up. Like that really seems like it was not long ago. That's crazy.
Well, because it wasn't. It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like, man, this is such a great story. The late bloomer Sam Darnold. And then he absolutely sucked in the Detroit game. But I was willing to chalk it out to, hey, it's a bad game. This team's 14-3. They have a great track record. Detroit was fired up. They were home. But they couldn't block the Rams. And the part that doesn't make sense to me, I was a little worried about their protection heading into the game just because of what it looked like against the Lions. But the Rams don't have a good defense. The Rams defense was 26th on DVOA for defense. They were the 7th worst defense in the league. It's not like this was, the 2000 Ravens. And they looked like the 2000 Ravens. So it was just a complete collapse.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a rebuilding year, at least for the Rams defense. You're right. Like, and then they get Jared Verse and Kobe Turner plays out of his mind his second year, and Kobe Durant tonight. Anyone named Kobe. And
all the Kobes.
All the Kobes. And it makes you think, was Aaron Donald ever good? No,
right.
No, it doesn't make you think that.
Big legacy hit for him. Should he go to the Hall of Fame now?
Aaron Donald. Sam Darnold, maybe. The guy's hemorrhaging money every time he drops back to pass.
I know.
Could he have opted out of the playoff game? Not just his contract money, our money, because we had them on teasers, the Vikings and everything. But I guess that's what we get, I guess. I don't know. But as far as signing him again, we have to say no now, right? If you're the Vikings.
We talked about yesterday, we were talking about QBs you'd rather have than Herbert. And we were going down the list. And I said to you, what about Sam Darnold? And you paused, which was my reaction as well. And you're like, let's wait to see what happens tomorrow. And of course, what happened was the worst possible game for him. I was looking, so some of the stats for the Rams heading into this game, they were 21st in the league in sacks. They were 28th in the league in QB hits, 26th in tackles for losses, and they were 6th in QB hurries, right? So that's the one thing where you're like, oh, I can kind of see it. The Vikings were 23rd in sacks given up, 20th QB hits, 24th QB hurries, 24th tackles for loss. So there were signs that their offensive line might not be that great, but nothing could have prepared anybody for what happened. Like, he was just under attack. And he reverted back into old school see and go Sam Darnold. It was like Jets Pats Sam Darnold. And now you mentioned the money thing. I don't know what you do if you're the Vikings.
And we're going to kill Sam Darnold. And we already have, and we'll probably do another 10 minutes doing so. But yeah, I think he was sacked 9 times. He was sacked 6 times in the first half. And like the next gen stats, like can kind of now tell you which sacks are the quarterback's fault. Yeah, I think like 5 or 6 of them were his fault because anything over like 4 seconds is the quarterback's fault. So,
we have next gen stats, and we also have Troy Aikman, who can tell no lies when he's watching a quarterback performance that he's not enjoying
Good
that
for
much.
him.
And he just couldn't a few times. He's just like, Joe, he has a good pocket there. I don't know why that happened the way it did, because the pockets, if he steps up, he's got plays. I don't know. The moment got too big for him, which was what happened last week too in the Detroit game. So now there's this whole domino effect now because what the Lions did to Minnesota last week, and we're like, well, the Lions are back. Their defense is back. But then you watch the Vikings can't block again this week. Darnold stinks again this week. So when you look forward against the Lions, we have this Rams game. I have no idea what to make of their performance in that fight. Like, is their defense for real? Is it not for real? What's going on there? And then the Lions, who looked so awesome last week, and we're all like, their defense, maybe it's back. They had a bye week. Now you see the Vikings can't block, and it's like, well, maybe it's not back. Maybe Washington will be able to move the ball against Detroit. This just made me more confused about round 2, Sal.
It made me confused about round 2. It made me confused about which quarterbacks are good. If the Herbert thing you brought up and like what Minnesota, this is good for the fans though, right? This kind of opens things up now. It would have been boring if the Vikings just re-signed Sam Darnold, gave him a big number, but they're like top 7 in cap space. I think like 100. They took their medicine with the dead cap with Cousins and Donnell Hunter, I think this year, but they're like I think they have like 160 million free. And they have to start McCarthy now. But yeah, you're right. Going forward, I don't know what it means for any of these teams.
Well, they can franchise tag Darnold though?
Yes, they can.
It would just be for a big salary. But
how much is that then? Is that 40 or
no? It's not
what
worth
is it now?
It's definitely not worth it. I think if Darnold plays well against Detroit, they lose to Detroit by like 3, and then they play the Rams. The Rams squeak it out, but he's fine in that. He's looking at least the Baker Mayfield money. Which I think was like 3 for 100 range. Now, I had a whole losers winners thing I wanted to do. He was the biggest individual loser. Cerruti says 41 million for the franchise tag. Yikes. So he's the biggest loser because I don't know what the free agent money is going to be.
Well,
for
let's
him.
see. How much did you and I lose on that Vikings adjusted? I mean, I guess he's the biggest loser, but we have to put ourselves in.
I did the anchor parlay with 4 games, and I ended up just splitting them. So it's just like all that work for nothing. I lost on the Chargers, lost on the Vikings, won on the other 2. But I was thinking Steeler fans, Raider fans, Saints fans. Sam Darnold is now in their life with rumors. Right?
Yeah.
Those are the 3 teams. I don't think the Giants, just because of the Jets pedigree, I think they would stay away. But Steelers, Raiders, Saints, I think are 3 possibilities.
I like that. I don't know
also,
why
they could franchise them for a year and do the whole, hey, we're not sure. Is JJ McCarthy's even going to be ready for September? They showed Daniel Jones a couple times. Like, he's an option. We've seen Daniel Jones. They're not going to, it can't be Daniel Jones.
I just don't know. What are they? There's one way to look at it is, shit, we're not going to do better than 14 wins, right? I think he can get us to 14 wins, but it's just this whole January thing that seems to be a mess. The other way is to look at it is let's see what we did with this McCarthy with our first round pick. Let's see what we got out of him.
Yeah, they obviously believed in him. They took him really high. He had bad luck with an injury, but before the injury, they were all excited about what he looked like in the preseason. So Darnold's the biggest loser, but the runner-up and maybe even the winner is the Vikings fans who just, I've mentioned my buddy Jeff a couple of times. He's in I told you so mode. He's like, I told you, this is what we do. This is what, like, this was preordained. Not only that they're going to lose, but it was going to be a complete embarrassment. This team won more games than any other Vikings team ever, except for the 98 team that went 15-1 and lost in the NFC title game. The 69 team went 12-2, lost the Super Bowl. The 73 team went 12-2, lost the Super Bowl. 75 team went 11-2-1, lost the Super Bowl. The 17 team, 13-3, they lost that NFC title game in Philly, whatever it was. Was Philly or Atlanta? Yeah. But this was one of the best Vikings teams, at least from a regular season standpoint, of the last 60 years, and just goes out ignominiously. Like, they couldn't even score 10 points.
Yeah. This is bad.
It's shocking.
It's tough. And the coaching, they got out-coached too. Like, the guy who's going to win Coach of the Year, Kevin O'Connell, got out-coached. It didn't take a lot. I would have liked to have seen them call that Stafford play differently. I know you and I, having money on the Vikings, would have also, but with that forward pass thing, the thing that was returned for a touchdown, They called it a fumble initially, and then they said Stafford. I think you have to do a little more than pretend you're sprinkling salt on eggs. Your hands got to go a little more forward than that. I mean,
it should be like a 30-yard penalty when you do that. If you're going down on a sack and you just whip the ball, it's like beyond an intentional grounding. Right. I personally think it should be, I think that should be a fumble when you're just dumping the ball because you're going to take a sack, but you're not even dumping it anywhere near anybody. It was the key play of the game because it felt like the Vikings could have momentum. Their defense in general, though, the Rams played it perfectly. They came out in the first quarter. Stafford started out 9 for 9. They could anticipate every single thing that was happening. This was the people that were making the case for the Rams heading into this game was not only did they win earlier in the year, but Stafford was good against the blitz. He's such a smart QB. He's good at reading stuff, and everything got borne out. I thought the Vikings were able to run the ball better. But in general, like the 26 DVOA defense should not be dominant. I know they had a couple games when guys were missing, but for the most part, like that makes no sense to me. Yeah, this is a team that got carved up multiple times this year,
Never could get Jefferson going, Let's see a one-on-one play to Jefferson. The Addison drops everything thrown his way. It gets ridiculous. And again, at least half those sacks were Darnold's fault.
So winners, J.J. McCarthy. Sean McVay, another great win. He's got 8 playoff wins now, plus the Super Bowl. They made the playoffs in 6 of 8 of his postseasons. He's only been a coach for 8 years and just coached the pants off of Kevin O'Connell, who's going to win a really awkward Coach of the Year award in about, I don't know, whenever they have that NFL honors thing. Killed him. Not only killed him, but the Vikes were down 18 with 10 minutes left, and we're running the Donovan McNabb, Pats, Eagles Super Bowl offense. Just long huddles before every play and no urgency at all. It was like they really quit. It was borderline Roberto Duran, no mas, no mas.
Right. Even Joe Buck and Aikman were like, does this team know they're down 18 when they're running on second and 6?
Sixth quarter? What are you guys doing?
Very strange. I don't know. McVay's a gigantic winner, and so are LA football fans too. I mean, really just to get this team ready, bringing their pets out and their family and bringing them out over there. And now it's like, we'll talk about the next game against Philly, but they're flying home to LA. They don't know if they're going to be able to practice in their facility, depending on the air quality. And then they have to go all the way to Philly. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep this momentum going.
Rams fans, huge winner. This is such a likable team. This was not supposed to be a team post Aaron Darnold that, when they were 1-4, they were talking about could Kupp be. I never believed those stories, but there were trade rumors about Kupp and could Stafford be potentially available. And all of a sudden now they're heading into the second round against a pretty beatable Eagles team. Hench made a good joke. Our buddy Hench. He said, the crowd was so good because Glendale is a shorter ride for the Rams fans than SoFi Stadium. Really good insight.
Is that a joke or is that accurate? I think he's being serious.
6 hours to Glendale and 5 hours to SoFi.
It's close.
Losers, the Eagles. Yeah. It went from, oh man, I don't want to see the Vikings to, oh Jesus, this Rams team, they're just cagey. They're like one of those old boxers. They've lost a couple times. They're like 37, but they might be 40. And they just kind of know what to do in the ring and you don't want to fight them.
They don't win a lot of these matchups, right? They don't win the coaching matchup. I don't know. I guess they win the running back. They
don't win coach or QB. They lose both of those.
QB is going to pass for 148 yards, and he's going to get pushed forward a couple of yards here and there. I feel like the defensive intensity for the the receivers are not off on the sideline reading Dostoevsky. So I don't know. Like I feel like I think it's really tough. This is a tough matchup, and nobody wants them to win.
Outdoors, Philadelphia, probably not warm. Stafford in cold weather. There's some playoff manifesto stuff with this too. There's always one of the best playoff manifesto rules that I have is the round 2 team that looked a little too good in round 1. Everybody's a little too excited about them. The Rams definitely qualify for that. And conversely, the Eagles not looking that great in round 1. So there's And I think that's going to be reflected in the.
But this opens up some nice, and we talk about narratives all the time. Like that NFC Championship is going to be fun either way. You can get Goff against Stafford, right? As long as the Eagles are out, I think it's fun. You get Goff against Stafford, or you get Jaden Daniels against Stafford and the LA team and the nation rooting hard for LA, whatever, against the rookie quarterback who's come from nothing. Yeah, so just step aside, Eagles.
Did you hear from any Eagles fans today who were like, you guys were a little too hard on us yesterday. We won a playoff game. Oh, you did? Because I didn't at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Eagles fans I heard from were like, yeah, you guys nailed it. I was fucking pissed after that game. We won, and I'm still mad.
Yeah, well, there's always that. But, Eagle fans tend to hate. You'll always find a few that are just going to hate you for saying anything about them, good or bad. Yeah, true. So that's what it was. All
right, guess the lines. You already beat me. The big question, the media was talking all day. Are you even going to play your starters here? You're in the Week 18 Kansas City Chiefs thing. Do you just sit everybody, try not to get hurt? Do you try to give me false hope? Do you do the Buffalo Bills where you tank the game to make me feel better about where I am heading into next week? I'm going to be down 1 for the first time since 1892.
Wow, that's a long time. I thought before that. I'll let my words speak for themselves here. LA at Philly. 3 p.m. Eastern Sunday. I'm going to guess Rams by 42.5. So that's my official guess because it doesn't matter.
I think I'm going to win this. I have Eagles minus 6.5.
All right, you got it. You know what? It was 6.5. It went down to 5.5. But you are closer. Wait, let me see. Yes, you are closer. So
what did you have?
42.5. No, you really did. In real life, I would have said like 3. I guess they're just counting on this just being too much of a story for the Rams.
So we ended up, I remember looking at the round 1 lines on like Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, like just looking to distract from any possible way. Like, where'd the lines at? And I remember thinking like, I know we're going to have 3 underdogs. I have no idea who the 3 underdogs are going to be that actually advance. And it ended up being Houston, Washington, and the Rams. 2 home teams, 2 home dogs, which used to be like a playoff. Always take a home dog. Don't even think twice. And then the Washington team in a game that was, I could see either of these teams winning these games. Why not take the points? So it all makes sense in retrospect. But on Wednesday, I was like, I could see all 6 favorites winning.
And those were the 3 shortest underdogs, right? They were all between 2.5 and 3, right? So you wouldn't have even. So our money line parlay still would have hit and.
I thought the Broncos with the plus 8.5, 9, whatever it was, had a chance to keep things around. And then the first quarter, it seemed to win. Then the Bills pulled away. The Packers were another one.
6 minutes. Yeah.
So it turned out to be the 3 short odds, 2 home dogs, and we ended up 3 underdogs advancing round 1. So,
and the AFC is exactly the same as last year, right? These are the same 4 that advance. Houston, Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo.
Well, we talked yesterday. I was saying that Baltimore game that's in the tic-tac zone.
Right.
I thought it was going to flip. It was yesterday. It was Buffalo minus 1.5. I predicted to you, I think it's going to flip. I think Baltimore is going to be 1.5. It already happened. Baltimore's 1.5. So since we did it yesterday, Baltimore's minus 1.5 Buffalo. Philly is now minus 5.5 on FanDuel. Detroit is minus 8.5 against Washington, and then KC is still minus 7.5. And everybody and their brother is teasing them with Ohio State.
Yes, and they're probably going to take 2 of those 3 mid-range 5.5, 7.5, 8.5, and put them together. Probably the Saturday games, right? No, but people want to win money Saturday and then go over Sunday, so that's going to be a popular moneyline parlay. Detroit and Kansas City. But as far as Buffalo goes, and I might even end up taking Baltimore, but that is entirely disrespectful to Bills. They need. Can we get Louis K to step in as their publicist? They need a new publicist. If that freaking team can't lay points at home, I don't care who they're playing. They're damn good. They can't be getting a 1.5. Ridiculous.
I think it goes down to the Ravens had 5 losses, and you could easily just examine all of them and be like, they actually should have had 1 loss.
Yeah.
They were the number 1 team in DVOA. They look like they've gotten better as the years gone along, especially on defense. Defense was the big hole with them the first 10 weeks. It flipped. And I think it's the right line. And I'll be honest. I've already put money on Baltimore.
I believe you.
I grabbed it because I was worried it was going to get to like minus 2.5, something like that. I just think I think Buffalo's defense is going to have a lot of trouble stopping them, but we'll see. I'm going to look at it more. There's going to be some narrative that nobody believes in us. If that starts drifting around Buffalo, I'm going to get nervous.
Do you think, like, I know this is a regular season vote, but we saw Kevin O'Connell, and you said it, now it's going to be a weird Coach of the Year award.
It's like the Dirk Nowitzki 2007 MVP.
Yeah.
That was the all-timer. He'd already been knocked out of the playoffs, so they're like, here's your
Could there be an executive Goodell decision or whoever makes this decision, give the voters their votes back and be like, all right, we're going to give you one more game.
No, can't do it. Nope.
You wouldn't do it.
No.
I mean,
it's a regular season award.
I know, but if one of them throws 4 interceptions,
he was the best coach of the regular season. Now it's like Sam Darnold was so bad those last 2 weeks. Maybe that emboldens his case.
That's true. How did he get it done? Yeah.
I can't believe we fell for Sam Darnold.
Well, that's a great division, aside from what the Bears put forth. And they won 14 games. Like, it's hard to get around that.
I don't understand it. There was a number of times during the season when I felt myself being like, you know what? I'm starting to believe in this guy. And then it was that Arizona game, week 13. He lit up Atlanta. He lit up Chicago. He had a really nice win at Seattle. And then that Green Bay game. And they won 9 straight games, and he was getting better during the streak. And he really, I believed. I feel burned.
You know why? Because we go on the podcast, and it's not fun to just keep telling people, all right, just be careful with this guy. It's just not fun.
Maybe we should just do the podcast and just be like, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, Eagles, Lions. Like we just should have never wavered from those 5 teams. Right.
I know. And so, grander scale, probably just should take the Chiefs the rest of the way. But yeah, Sam Darnold is 27. We saw what he looked like at 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26, but we probably should have stayed with that.
I really like Sam Darnold. Like, I really thought that video of how much his teammates loved him, I was like, man, this guy it's like a rescue dog. He finally found a home. Mm-hmm. And now he might be your new New Orleans Saints quarterback. Poor Sam. Yeah.